is recorded. So shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, who is going?
Sir, shall I read? Because later I think I'll have to step out. Shall I go ahead and read? Priya ji, is it okay?
Yeah, anybody can.
That's what I said. That's what I said. Let whoever wants to read. I'm available is what I said.
ठीक है. Thank you so much.
So this is
I'll start from here. Okay, sweetheart, it's you and me alone. And yeah, God, let's hope you are awake and with us too. Come on, old man, don't die on me. And wow, you do weigh something solid. You don't look so heavy, but you weigh a ton, man. Maybe it is your spirituality that is so heavy. Yeah, now you lie on my soft bed and wow, my back's freaking killing me. Okay, now hold on while we make our calls. Rudra picked up his cell phone and then switched it on. There was no network, no signal. Global networking, my sorting ass. Can't get a signal on a national highway. Shoot. Now what, old man? It's freaking 2 hours to the hospital. He really was in quandary. Should he attend to the old man's wound himself or should he rush the old man to the hospital? Would the old man survive the long drive? Will he survive your first aid, Rudra? Wow. Should have listened to the family and become a doctor. Would have been of some use to somebody, you messed up loser. All of a sudden, Rudra nearly leapt out of his own skin. This was because the old man opened his eyes and seconds later managed a weak smile. For a few moments, Rudra could do no more than stare at the old man. Though the bleeding continued, the old man showed neither the signs of pain, distress, nor confusion. He looked at Rudra with so tender a gaze that for the first time in years, all the pain, humiliation, allegation, heartache, and the futility of existence not only seemed worthwhile, but also made sense. Why? Rudra still was not certain. What he was sure about was that for the first time, his heart, and more important, his very soul, seemed to accept with grace his past, present, and future, with a surrender that not only was extremely comforting, but absolutely shocking. It was as though if this old man were to tell Rudra to go and slit his own wrist, he would only ask one question: wrist of which hand? If the old man were to tell him to die, Rudra would only inquire how, when, and where. But what shocked him the most was the realization that if the old man were to even command him to go on living and living with grace, he would only nod and get his act together. Rudra was certain, as convinced as he was of his own existence and his love for his children, that he would not only die but also keep living for this old man. Why? He didn't know and didn't care. Pain of the body, mind, or heart means the land is fertile for God to begin cultivating on your soul, my son. But if you let pain make you bitter, negative, mean, vindictive, ah, son, you have lost the greatest opportunity to walk in the shadow of God. But if you allow pain to harvest the good in you, my child, then the kingdom of heaven is yours. Not only when you exhale your last and leave your physical frame, but even when you live with every breath you take while you live. The cross will remain, but your shoulders will get more strength. The whip will lash on your body, but the balm of God will not allow pain to touch you. The kingdom of heaven is filled with wonder, son. The greatest wonder of all is to convert pain to God consciousness.
Yeah. So let's wait a few minutes here. See, it's very interesting that everywhere we read, if you take nature of personal reality, we have created our pain. But why do you think we actually created this pain for ourselves? Anyone can comment on that?
Comment again, sir. एक बार और पूछेंगे, sir.
And my question is, why do you think we actually create this pain for ourselves?
to evolve ourselves?
Yeah, Kanchan?
To evolve, we can become a better version, different version, what we have never explored. Our soul wants to have a different experience altogether.
Yes.
And what's the purpose of the life we have to fulfill? The soul is looking for that. That's the reason we have created this thing.
Yes, that's right. I think you.
Yeah, to me, I think pain is also like reminders to bring back your awareness. To perk up yourself.
Yeah.
See,
to perk up yourself and get ready for what you need to do.
Either that way or the other way is, see, if you read, even listen to the audio book that I posted today. I posted an audio book in our group today. The one that I purchased when I lost my dad.
Luminous.
Yeah. Right. So this also, and so does the laws of the spiritual world. Right? All these books, what they are trying to tell us is pain is something we create for evolving ourselves. You remember, I always keep saying from your soul's gift and your soul's plan that there are 35 characteristics that we need to learn. Right? In order to learn the 35 characteristics, 360 degrees, we have to create scenarios. One of the scenarios in that is the pain. It is not always positive, but also pain should be there for us to learn our lessons. Why are you learning your lessons? Because you need to complete the score of all your reincarnations by virtue of this learning, by virtue of this evolution. So those are there. But what happens is the moment we take birth on this plane, as the planet Earth, we completely forget this aspect. And we get drawn into the materialistic life. And there we feel it is pain. That pain, interestingly, it's a sort of a vicious circle that then reminds us to become spiritual. We start believing in God. We come to a stage where acceptance is bliss. We start accepting, and that is when we do not realize the pain. Like Ramana Maharshi's Who Am I? Right? There is an incident in which he is suffering from the pain of the cancer on his body. And he says, I too am observing, I am also learning. Right? So it's that way. So for us, it is very important that pain is inevitable, but is suffering avoidable? The answer is yes. And how do you avoid the suffering? By virtue of acceptance. That's the key point he's trying to bring out here. Right? Any comments from anyone? Otherwise, we'll proceed. Yeah, Archana, proceed. Hello?
Yes, sir. हाँ, sir. वो थोड़ा clear नहीं था screen.
Yeah.
So then something strange happened. The old man raised his hand and caressed Rudra's face. Rudra could feel the hot blood from the old man's bleeding palm wet his right cheek. What followed further shocked him. He began to cry. Tears rolled down his cheeks, mixed with the blood on his face, and streamed down his throat. At first, the tears rolled down gently, but moments later, Rudra put his head on the old man's chest and sobbed like a child. All the while, Rudra wept. The old man gently caressed his back. Rudra felt a strange sense of energy move up and down his spine. He felt his breathing settle and slowly he lifted his head and knelt by the old man. Rudra was certain that whatever was happening was out of the realms of normalcy. Nothing was normal anymore. Not the old man. Oh no, nothing was normal about the old man. He was badly injured. Sir, just a second. He was badly injured, but he still kept smiling like some thinner version of the laughing Buddha. He was injured, but not once had he winced in pain or moaned. This is 8 seconds. So this
He
is
moaned in agony.
mm,
Then
in agony. Then there were his divine eyes. They were so restful, non judgmental, and full of compassion that one could keep looking into them, feel safe, and most importantly, feel forgiven. It was as if they conveyed to one and all that all was well and that the God of all beings was far more graceful and cool than what the priests and interpreters of holy books made him out to be, that every saint had a past and every sinner a future, and that the God who made the Grand Canyon and the Himalayas with a majestic Mount Everest was also the same God who took the time off to paint a different sunrise and sunset each day, and who made sure that the trees that lay unattended on the roadside and by the parking lot were equally nourished with morning dew, that it was time a particular caterpillar living a wayward life somewhere in Africa was transferred into a butterfly, and that when a baby cried, the mother could automatically interpret the reason for the wail of her baby, that the little one had opened its small mouth wide open and screamed its little guts out of hunger, wet nappy, colic pain, sleep, boredom, or it just was in need of a warm, tender hug. The old man was as normal as the advent of spring on Mars or mankind, all of a sudden realizing that it was the best for its own sake to live in peace and share resources amongst the starving and the dying and with those in the desperate need. This fakir thinks you don't have much time to live, son. Rudra should have been shocked for a number of reasons. First of all, the old man spoke English. He looked like a Muslim sage, and usually these sages converse only in the native language of the land. Secondly, and most importantly, the old man's prediction was dead on right. Rudra did have a very short time on planet Earth. Mercifully, it would be spent in peace. Lastly, not only was all this spoken to him in sign language and lip mouthing, but surprisingly, Rudra understood everything. That he could understand sign language or grasp up reading so easily no longer shocked him. The only thing that surprised him was the casual manner in which he himself accepted all these abnormalities. Normalcy was just a state of mind, just a conditioning. Who is to decide what is normal and what is not? Rudra was way past knowing or caring.
continue.
Where
The
is it,
old
sir?
man allowed
Yeah,
Rudra.
yeah. The old man allowed Rudra to attend to his wound. He had suffered a severe gash on the scalp, but fortunately, only minor cuts and bruises on the elbows. Obviously, the old man had landed on his back with the elbows and then the scalp taking the brunt of the fall. Rudra, without a word, cleansed the wounds with antiseptic and then bandaged the head and the right elbow with the amazing deftness and grace of a drunk blind bull running at full gallop in a china shop. But he did all this with infinite tenderness. I know my nursing skills are horrible, but that is the best I can do. We will get a professional doctor to do a better job. Rudra spoke slowly. He was not certain whether the old man could hear. Why else would he speak to him in sign language and only mouth the words and not speak them out? The old man smiled and patted Rudra's face. Don't worry, there's nothing to be ashamed of if you have given your best to whatever you are doing, son. Only mankind is interested in results. Nature only wants to know your intentions. A dog just wags its tail happily. It is not bothered about whether its tail has wagged with finesse or whether it looks funny. It only knows how to love its master. It gives its best. It may take a mess of things regularly, but then you don't mind. Why? Because you know the dog's heart is in the right place. It is giving its best to you. The same way nature and God don't judge you by your performance or your results. They just want to know whether your intentions are proper, your heart is in the right place, and that you are giving your best to whatever you're doing. Everything else is just pure statistics. Rudra was
Just
still
hold there,
amazed.
Archana, just hold there.
Oh, beautiful paragraph, sir. Beautiful. Very beautiful.
No, it is beautiful, but please remember here how important it is for us to understand. See, we talk about manifesting, we talk about so many things, right? And in Chandra sir's meditation, we learned that nature is a giver. But what does nature respond to? What do you think nature responds to?
Our
When our
intentions.
heart is pure, our intentions.
Yes, when you say intentions, break it down further.
Pure intentions.
Yeah. What is intention?
Clarity of thought.
Contributing into the life of others. Contributing into the life of others so that the others can be benefited. Contributing
No,
into
no,
the life
no.
of others so that the others can be get benefited.
Kanchan, there's a lot of background disturbance,
Yes, sir.
right? So better mute
I'm
yourself,
sorry.
please. I know, I understand.
What she said
Oh.
is benefiting others,
No,
contributing so that others are benefited. That's what
that is
I
not
kind of
intention.
heard.
That is not
That is what I
intention.
heard her say.
Yeah. Thought with emotion is intention. Right? And what is emotion?
Energy in motion.
Energy in motion. So go a bit step further. So what is that motion?
Feelings.
What is feelings?
Thought.
Is the frequency. Okay. So your intentions have to be such that one, you are not harming nature. Your intentions are such that they are progressive and your intentions is for betterment of everyone. And your intentions does not know a result. It has not got attached to a result. It is just a vibration. So when it comes to any manifestation, it is only your intention, the electromagnetic signal that we can utilize for the benefit of ourselves or for the benefit of others. And that is the fundamental premise of nature's functioning. Yeah, continue.
So can I add something here?
Yes.
So I was thinking like yesterday, like Archana was asking, why do we do manifestation sessions and everything?
Hmm.
So I feel that every day, every second of our life, we are manifesting something. The problem here is that the type of thoughts that you are having and the feeling, as Chandra sir said, the emotion that is attached to it, subconsciously, or you not being aware of all those years, is manifesting as a negative thing into your life. That's the problem. So when you go and sit into these manifestation sessions, we bring in those positive emotions. We try to set right our thought process, and in the process try to set right the emotion associated with it. And that's how you manifest something, want to manifest something good into your life. That was the whole intention of the manifestation sessions. And the other thing, when the same question was asked to, like Patri sir said, that nature always gives, does not differentiate between good or bad. Nature
Correct.
always gave what Hitler wanted. Nature always gave what Ravana wanted. It did not differentiate. The problem here occurs, are you ready to face the consequences of your manifestations? Now, what happened to Hitler or what happened to Ravana? The nature will always try to correct. It will always try to create balance. So how good is your intention? Is it towards the betterment? You'll get the consequences in a good way. But if you manifest in your own what do you say, for your own good or anything, it will also will be manifested. But it will be always of greater intention if you manifest for the wellness of the world or the society in general. But whatever you manifest in your life, you should always be ready to face the consequences of it. That's what I wanted to add on. Please correct me if there is something.
Yes, that makes sense. That makes sense. The only thing is, when do you manifest? See, there is only one missing element in that statement.
Yes, sir.
That is, if what you are manifesting is part of your purpose of life,
Mm,
there will be no consequences.
mm,
Right?
mm,
Only if you manifest things that are beyond your purpose of life and you do not know how to handle that excess,
mm.
that is when you start facing consequences.
Yeah.
So just keep that also over and above those sentences, because they mean that.
Mm,
Even when Patriji sir says you have to face the consequence, the hidden meaning there is, if it is aligned to your purpose of life, it will not harm you.
mm,
Like this was a question I asked GK sir when I was on a one-on-one. I said, sir, if I am born as a butcher,
mm,
right, my purpose of life is to kill animals.
mm,
My purpose is to slaughter.
mm,
So will I incur the wrath of the nature?
mm,
He said, no,
mm,
because that is part of the purpose of it.
mm.
Like a surgeon who keeps cutting toes and the body parts, let's say. Right?
It's like the
Sir, how can it be compared, sir?
Why cannot it be?
Sir, they say Pandit ke putra Pandit nahi hona chahiye. Like, it is not written to be like that.
Correct.
Doctor's son need not be a doctor, right? So as such, a
Okay.
butcher's son need not be a butcher.
No, he need not, but if I am a butcher, I said.
But it is your choice still to be a butcher, right?
No, I might have defined it. That is the part of life that I want to experience in this life.
Then it is your choice. It is not.
No, everything is our choice only.
Huh.
You tell me which is not your choice.
No, sir, butcher's son being a butcher, that is what
I never said his son.
Okay. You wanted, like, if I chose
See,
to
if
be a
I have
butcher.
chosen if my purpose of life is to be a butcher.
Sir, can I
That is
add a
the
point on
question.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, I understand if butcher's son by hereditary or whatever the family thing, he's taking it. But if that person gets the right wisdom, what he's doing is not right, it's against the nature. And once he get that self-realization of that is not the right thing, he can change, right? He doesn't need to continue. Maybe he's in ignorance.
Correct. But where did the son come from? That is the fundamental question I'm asking.
He'll take it as probably, it's a family thing going on. He'll take it, but he needs to get that wisdom also, so that he can come out of that. He doesn't need to.
What did
Carry on
Gautam
that, right?
Buddha do? What did he do?
Yeah, he left all his palace and all the
He was
luxury
the son
life.
of a king.
And
He was the
Yeah,
yes,
he
son
was
of
the
a
son
king,
of
but
a
he
king.
didn't.
He
got-
didn't
he
continue that profession, right?
exactly. So when he got that realization, so maybe he needs to even here in this case for
No,
butcher's son, he
no.
doesn't need
See,
to.
but we are going out of context.
Okay, sir, you said we are not talking
No,
about children and
Madhuji, there's a
hereditary.
difference.
No, no, I'm not
Yes.
talking about hereditary at all.
Madhuji, there's a difference between what you're saying and what Chandra sir is saying. What you're saying is like you get the profession because somebody before you was doing it. But he's not talking in that context. What he's saying is, suppose I want to be a butcher and I'm
No,
doing
I have
this
chosen to be a
profession.
butcher this life.
I've chosen to be a butcher and I'm doing it with my passion. So will it
Incur
have
the wrath of
consequences?
nature. Am I committing a sin?
If it is against the nature, no matter you like it or
Yeah.
don't like it, you would incur. That is my
No, I will
understanding,
not.
sir.
I will not.
That's
Why?
what even I felt like. Madhu.
Because, Nane, see, you are thinking from a conscience point of view. I am
Huh.
thinking from only one thing. I have
Karma.
chosen to be a butcher this life. It may
I
be that
understand,
I have
sir.
been, no,
Madhu
but
ma'am,
Madhu,
Madhu
why
ma'am,
don't you take
it's
the other
Swadar-
way? Why
Madhu
don't you
ma'am,
soul-
take it the other way? In
you
all
get a
my
soul's
previous
experience.
lives, I have been harmed by all those animals whom I am going to butcher this life.
Madhu ma'am,
But
you
st-
call it as Swadharma.
Yeah.
And you need to do it no matter what. Why was Arjuna told to kill all those relatives? He became conscious, right? At that point of time, I won't kill, but all this lifetime he has been killing it. What's the
Yeah,
difference?
and what Kanchan says also, please, everyone can read. It was my sole agreement
Soul
to
Yeah,
get the experience of a butcher's life.
yeah, it's a soul's plan.
Exactly, that's what I was telling you. So then I am not going to incur anything wrong. There is no karma. If I don't do it as per my plan, I will suffer this life.
There's a small story in Mahabharata, the same
Yeah.
thing. The butcher, like the butcher who takes care of his parents very well. At the same time, he does all this every day. So I think Krishna or somebody, or he takes Arjuna and and shows that somewhere, then he will answer. It is his dharma. I mean, whatever it is, his job he's doing, and at the same time, he is taking his responsibility of taking care of all parents.
so you
So in
say,
that
sir,
case,
sorry, go ahead, Balama.
no, in that case, he says he's doing his dharma. I mean, like whatever, not dharma, whatever he's supposed to in this life, he's doing without attaching anything. But he, at the same time, he is doing his duty of taking care of his parents with whatever money he is getting from
Okay,
that.
let me ask a question. Kanchan is saying Angulimala, I will go one step further. Parshurama.
Yeah, Parashurama and
Or even
also
Pranapa.
Mirlepa, what a Milepa, the person who
Milarepa.
Milarepa killed so many people with the revenge.
Yeah.
And again, he became a monk later. But the thing is, whatever wrongs you did, you had to realize and come out of it. That is the main thing. If you keep on dwelling in the whatever you did in the past, you can never come out of it. You had to come out of it and accept it and learn something and accept it and move on.
Correct.
That is why the guru makes Milarepa, to build so many times, whatever he gets frustrated, but he keep on building, and then the guru keeps, he keeps on breaking, and then ask him to rebuild it. The reason is to get rid of his karma and to know, for him to learn, for him to learn, to move on, not to dwell in the past.
So, Madhu, your question is answered now.
Yes, sir. As long as it is your sole plan, being a butcher, and you want to get the experience, you are okay. Otherwise,
Exactly.
you will
And-
incur.
Otherwise, you will
Negative
And
incur
you should-
karma.
Yes.
And also
No,
the karma.
and you should
yeah.
be
right.
doing it with passion. Like that is what I want to do. But if you're doing it having guilt, then that it is going to affect you, because you
See.
know in one side that this is not what I should be doing, and you're doing, then it is going to affect. But if you feel yes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and you're passionate about it, then it will not, because you know that that is your life purpose.
It is so hard for me to think butchering something with passion. Okay.
Yeah,
but
because the
yeah.
reason
No,
is
but
you
one
have the
thing, Madhu.
knowledge.
His aim,
Yes, sir.
his
Because you
aim
have the
may be-
knowledge.
I
his
still
aim may be
understand.
to feed. No, his aim may be providing food to the people. He may not be thinking of the killing. So
Yeah,
what
yeah,
his
I
focus
get
is,
that.
what his intention is where is where the passion comes from. So like even you had that story of Kannappa, no, the hunter. He goes and offers meat to the to Shiva in
Lord
the temple.
Shiva.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So, but and the priests there are like so
Annoyed.
aghast that the meat has come into the temple. But he does it with passion, with love, and with devotion. So there is a thing. The intention behind
Yeah.
makes a big difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
And-
understand. But
No, that
thank
is
you,
true.
thank
But
you.
okay, then let me ask you this, Madhu.
No, sir, I
The king-
understand,
no,
sir.
no.
I understand.
No, I will give you one more variation. The king sentences someone to death. There is actually a story in Mahabharata in which the snake's poison kills someone. Okay. And that snake has been carried by an eagle, otherwise it would not spat this one. So who is responsible for the death? Right, all these are part of the karma. I think in the Parikshit story only, I think one of the Bhagavad
Yeah.
Gita
Yeah. Parikshit, yeah. Somebody puts
Right.
the snake around him, dead snake. Yeah.
Correct. And the other
That is
one
done by
is,
Parikshit.
yes.
That is done by
And-
Parikshit.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It is
Correct.
done by Parikshit. Yeah.
And other than that, we said Parshurama. Now, the king has ordered someone to be killed. It is with justice in mind. It is the materialistic justice in the current world. Right? But the gallows are operated by a hangman. So is the hangman at fault?
To me, he is doing his duty.
Thank you.
Yeah,
The
Madhu
same
ma'am, even
way.
GK sir said
Yeah.
the butcher does not incur the karma rather than the person who's buying from the butcher. The person who's
Yes.
getting the meat from the butcher incurs more karma than the butcher who is doing his swadharma.
Exactly.
Yeah, because if people who are buying are not there, why would he butcher?
The profession would not have existed.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
And
Yes.
right. Another thing is, if you
So
have
we are
come
at
from
fault,
the
sir,
animals,
being a non-vegetarian. But thankfully, I turned vegetarian.
you have to turn your entire family. Only then you, otherwise
Yeah,
you are
yeah.
still a
I know,
butcher.
sir. It takes some more time. Yeah.
No, but otherwise you are still a butcher. Please understand.
I'm not cooking, sir.
Anyway, let's go further. Yeah,
But didn't we
continue.
stop at 13, page 13? Oh, I thought,
Yeah.
oh, you already, okay.
Yeah, you came late.
Oh, I came late. At what time you started? Half an hour
I
before? I
said
thought.
Sundays is 8 o'clock IST, no?
Oh, so it is CST 9:30, half an hour already over. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, sorry.
Anyway.
Description lo undandi Bala ma'am.
Yeah, sorry, I
Group
missed it.
description లో
Okay.
క్లియర్ గా పెట్టాను ఇవన్నీ ఈసారి కన్ఫ్యూజన్ ఉండకూడదు.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Saturday
Archana?
we have counseling, we are getting late. Sir,
Okay, okay, sorry.
So
Yeah,
let's
yeah, that's my
continue.
mistake.
Rudra was still amazed.
So we are on page 15.
Yes. Archana, you are continuing?
she said she needs 5 minutes, sir.
Okay, then you can take over, Madhu.
Okay, sir. I will try.
We are at Rudra was still amazed.
Sir,
Ye-
I'm back.
You're here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
No,
continue.
actually, दूसरा discussion चल रहा था ना, मैं पानी पीने चली गई थी.
अच्छा,
Okay, continue, Archana.
ठीक.
We were like Rudra was still amazed, right?
Yes.
Rudra was still amazed at their form of communication. Though the old man had not spoken a word aloud, Rudra understood him perfectly. Rudra remembered his grandmother, who used to tell him often that it was why you did what you did that was more important than what came about what you did that really mattered to the heavens above. That the angels
Just
heard.
hold there, just hold there.
Ji.
Archana. Madhu. Rudra remembered his grandmother, who used to tell him often that it was why you did what you did that was important than what came about what you did. That didn't really matter to the heavens above. Is this clarifying something?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Chalo, Archana ji.
Yes. That the angels heard the purity in the prayer rather than the prayer itself or the fancy words mouthed, and that work done intelligently was far superior to tremendous hard work done without much thought, but the intention of the labor was way far above intelligence, effort, or results. Success is a very complex term. What could be success for one could mean failure for another. Take creation itself. For so many, it is a roaring success, and for so many, it is an unmitigated failure. Only mankind is interested in results. Nature only wants to know your intentions.
So
Rudra
here
vowed,
intention is very important.
Yes.
yeah, that's what was being. Rudra parked his van under a benevolent banyan tree, which gave ample shade to them. Also, the lovely fragrance and the backdrop music of 100 odd birds perched on the various branches of the tree made the setting more pleasant than it really was. In reality, they were in the middle of nowhere with barren lands all around and vehicles passing miraculously without colliding with each other. Traveling in India on a national highway is not for the faint hearted. Each vehicle moves with a single minded purpose to reach its destination by defying physics and the law of velocity and gravity. To travel fast and reach one's destination, either speed or sheer bulk or exasperating maneuvering is used. And if you are really unlucky, you could have a vehicle move towards you at frightening knots an hour, with all the combinations put together. They go through life just like that, in a great hurry. But if you ask them why, they don't have an answer. Maybe they might reach an hour or two earlier, but most often those hours don't make a difference. All in a hurry to reach a destination they are anyway going to reach. During the entire journey, the driver is tense, making rash moves, miraculously avoiding oncoming traffic, abusing other drivers, and worrying all those in the vehicle. Nobody really enjoys the ride. The sensible go off to sleep. The wise leave it to their master. The anxious make a nuisance of themselves, and the driver drives on wanting to overtake, speed up, and be able to do better timing than his boss or his neighbor or the driver ahead of him. They forget that life is not a 100-meter dash but a long marathon. I'm hungry. Do you have anything in that black haversack apart from whiskey and gin bottles? Rudra smiled sheepishly. It was a closed haversack bag, and the old man knew of the contents without opening it. He thought hard. Did he have anything to eat? Yeah. The old man's eyes lit up and he gleefully took the packet that Rudra handed to him. The old man said a short prayer and insisted that Rudra share the comestible. Then Rudra watched the sage who could read his future, know the contents of his zip bag, a haversack, and philosophize on life and the very heavens itself for the next few minutes, enjoy like a child the wonders of a Kit Kat chocolate bar. The sun was about to set, but the two men were in no hurry to move on. It was decided that Rudra would call the old man Baba. Now, the word Baba has different meanings. On face value, Baba means father. Especially in villages in Maharashtra, children address their father as Baba. The word could also mean old man, but spoken with respect. It does not sound disparaging when spoken in Hindi. When you call someone an old man in English, it sounds as though you're mocking him or being rude. But when you say Baba in India, it means I respect your age and the experience you have earned through living. Surprisingly, this very word is also used to call out to a child, like when you say to a kid, Baba, I know this medicine tastes like horse shit, but please swallow it. Or it can also be said in a frustrated manner, like, okay, Baba, you want to marry that man who should have been strangulated at birth either by his mother or by the family doctor? Then go ahead. But don't tell me I did not email you and warn you or so. But the best association of the word is when it is used in its spiritual context. Baba means master, guru, lord of one's destiny. Thus, in India, you have masters known by this word. It means father, guru, everything. The Sai Baba of Shirdi, Meher Baba, Baba Nanak, Kamu Baba, Magdum Baba, Baba Nityanand, and Muktanand, and many perfect masters have the title Baba attached to their names. You really are blessed if you can die with Baba on your lips. Thus, Baba it was. Why don't we spend the night here? Baba gesticulated. Sometimes he spoke and Rudra lip read. Often, Baba gestured with his hands and spoke together. Whatever mode of communication was adopted, Rudra somehow understood him effortlessly. It was bizarre. It was even eerie, this strange grasp of the unspoken. This silent interaction, whether through signs or lip reading, made Rudra feel very close to the old man, closer than he had felt with anybody else ever. Of course, one thing became clear to Rudra. Baba could hear very well. He was far from deaf. Sometimes Rudra felt the old man could even hear what was not spoken. For some reason, Baba did not speak aloud. Maybe he did not want to speak aloud, just as a large majority of folk who had no hearing impairment but still refused to hear, or worse, make believe they could not hear, only because in reality they did not want to listen. One needs to be open to communication, open to the fact that there are different manners of dialogue, various modes of exchange of ideas, and innumerable ways of listening, and very often words would be voiced and heard in so many different ways. The one who makes thunder roar also hears a butterfly sigh. So they spent so they spent the night under the banyan tree. Rudra had a few tins of soup, cans of beans and chicken, and he never traveled without his stove and basic essentials. He very often spent days in his van, camping on mountain tops or on the outskirts of town and villages, whenever he wanted to spend time alone but not be holed up in a stuffy room. There were days and nights when he withdrew so within himself that it made no sense to be amongst the living, mankind, other animals, whatever. He was not aware that name to give that face, what tag to label that silence, whether it was negative and destructive or just diving deep within and exploring the unknown without really grasping anything on the conscious plane. Earlier, he would define these phases as depression, but he wasn't too certain anymore. The same way nature and gods don't judge you by your performance or your results. They just want to know whether your intentions are proper, your heart is your heart is in the right place, and that you are giving your best to whatever you're doing. Everything else is just pure statistics. He had battled often with depression and very often nearly succumbed to the enchanting call of the dead. The blissful tune that he could hear that conveyed eternal silence, perpetual slumber. He really did want to end his life and sleep and never ever wake up, not on planet Earth or the beyond, not even to hear the harp. He never really fancied the instrument or ogle at the celestial beauties that frequent heaven. The concept of heaven rammed up down the mystified throats of young Indians. No, he just wanted to die and never wake up to any sort of consciousness, physical, emotional, mental, or astral. He wanted to become non existent. The pain was unbearable. His heart often felt it would tear open with a constant throb of anguish and the unceasing lashing of grief. Tears that welled but never were allowed to flow through the eyes. He did cry, but that was really rare and never encouraged. Tears, just like howling wind gushing from some deep void in the cosmos, would just gush down, leaving him wrecked and wretched. They come unannounced when watching a movie, reading a book, hearing a song, seeing a child embrace a loved one, chuckling of kids, a kid all alone with sadness writ in its eyes, two kids on a motorbike with their parents or their dad, Cartoon Network, McDonald's with kids enjoying themselves with then parents. Too many reasons, or maybe no reason
Whatsoever.
whatsoever. He tried to never let himself lose control, but without a warning, memories of the past would catch up with him and rip his heart and trample his soul. Nothing made sense anymore. His canvas of life was devoid of color. His plate had lost all sense of taste. He felt like a corpse, but of course he still existed and he saw his life as an oxymoron. He, a living corpse, belongs to neither world. Planet Earth so often has no use for the living. Thus, a living corpse is redundant, and the spirit world obviously has no use of somebody with a gross body. Only members who possess a spirit permit can enter. Ha ha. At times like that, he would get into this faithful black van and, like a good corpse, withdrew from the world. But as hunger and thirst, just like other messy functions of the body, which are not really concerned or impressed whether the heart and the mind are getting the shit kicked out of them, demand attention. Rudra always had a well stocked van of liquor, water, books, film, food tins, and gasoline. Never ever eat alone, gesticulated the old man. Rudra nodded. He had heard and read often that one did not need words to communicate. Well, now he understood and agreed. You might say that you spend all your time alone, but you know, boy, only a fool thinks he's ever alone. God and your guides, your spirit guides, are always there around you. Selfish and ungrateful to eat without offering all you eat and drink to them and inviting them to share whatever you eat along with you.
What is the message here?
Ki you're
That we are
never
never
alone,
alone.
and you're always blessed with the company of your higher souls, or guiding spirits, or God himself
Correct.
in
But
various
what is the
forms.
meaning when he says,
Huh.
never eat alone? Right? It is
I
so
mean,
selfish and ungrateful to eat without offering all you eat and drink
Bhagwan.
them and inviting them to share whatever you eat along with you. What is the key message? It is a feeling of gratitude. He is asking you to express gratitude. Because you are not alone, they are always there. It is only that you don't realize that they are there. Yeah? So gratitude is an important hidden message in this book.
Yes.
Let's move.
Even while drinking water.
Yeah.
The one who makes the thunder roar also hears a butterfly sigh.
So
Just imagine
what is this meaning?
matlab, अच्छा बुरा सब भगवान करते, like something like that. Most trying times or the most beautiful moments, everything is given by God.
It is basically trying to be conscious of everything around you. You can be firm, you can be strong, at the same time you need to be gentle.
Just imagine your master and your guides all sitting next to you.
Someone was saying something actually.
Wait, someone was trying to say something.
Yeah, I was saying combination of responsibility with sensitivity is what I got from that. One who makes the thunder roar also hears the butterfly sigh.
No, you have to be tough and gentle at the same time.
Yes.
Tough and gentle.
You have to be tough and gentle at the same time. You are right. Chalo, aage badho. Just imagine
your master and your guides all sitting next to you, and you gorging yourself with all the nonsense most people eat without even inviting them to join in. Sir, some window has come up, sir.
No. That was that Kanchan is saying like water.
Okay. them to join in. Just because you can't see them does not mean they are not around you. Wouldn't you say that was selfish and sad? Remember, never ever think you are alone. And if you really think you're alone, if you really are under the illusion that it is you and you alone that gets things done, then slowly your guides leave, as they are innumerable souls who need help and guidance and believe they can be helped from the other side. So the guides try and try to communicate with you and make their presence felt and then sigh and move on, and then you really are alone. If you have any sense, you realize you're an extraordinary ass and call out to them to rejoin you. You call out once and they're back with you. Of course, only when they feel you really want them to be with you. They are sensitive, sometimes a shade too oversensitive. It takes all to make even the spirit world. Baba smiled and Rudra realized it was the most beautiful smile in all of the creation. You really think masters and guides are all around us? Are around all of us? Guides are there around all. Of course, masters and guides depend upon the spiritual and karmic grade of each individual. Those who are very old school, old souls, or high souls obviously have more evolved spirits guiding them and always around them. A child going to the first grade has a teacher who is suitable for the child, and a grown up doing his or her master degree or a doctorate in philosophy has a different kind of tutor. Please, I'm not comparing the teachers, only their specialized skills. It also depends upon what the individual soul needs to learn and experience. Thus, there are a lot of prerequisites that determine the guides and light workers. Your grades determine your guides and master. Of course, if for lifetime you have worshipped and served a master, obviously that master will be around you all the time in every lifetime, physically or spiritually, guiding you to move upwards spiritually and enhance your karma. You might not even realize that your master and your guides are guiding and helping you. You might You might not even be worshipping your master. You might not have you might have not even heard about him or her or seen your master in this lifetime. But your master is there for you always, just like a mother who feeds and tends to her child, irrespective whether the child is in the womb or a day old or well into its 60th birthday or retarded or blind or deaf or dumb. It doesn't matter. A million times more intense is the love of the Master towards all those who are in his or her protection and clan. That is why we can say that the Master or Guru is Brahman, creator, Vishnu, preserver, and Shiva, destroyer. And in the fact that the Master or Guru is God itself, all along working unceasingly to make certain that the disciple and devotee grows spiritually and becomes one with God. That is the aim of the master, to make the devotee or disciple become one with God. Now, if you don't mind, can I get something to eat before I faint with hunger and exhaustion, as well as that noise that beetle is making? Do you know that God has made more than a few thousand varieties of bugs? Why? I don't know. Maybe he had just too much time on the hand. Haha.
Here, right? From this, each person always has a master, right? Who is that master? Who is that master? If I
Sir, आप
say
भी
that
बताइए।
God is inside you, who is that master?
Your soul, sir.
Stretch it a little
I
bit.
think your higher self, sir.
Exactly.
Oh.
It is your higher self or your oversoul, as they call it. This is what we learned in. Where did we learn this, Madhu?
Coming, unified, sir.
Yeah. Right? So, see how the whole thing is structured. Huh? None of us attempted anything. But all of us came together, all of us started learning books, we started learning spirituality, we started attending sessions, various forms of sessions, Have we all been guided? Without our knowledge, without our realizing, don't you think we all have been guided? Anyone objects?
I think realization, like what he says, your grades determine your guides and masters.
Yes. No, that is true. Yeah. But we all have been guided accidentally, advertently, or inadvertently. But we have been guided. We need to realize that. We need to thank our.
Sir, I believe this a lot because I had a lot of intention of coming to meditation. One of my just digital marketing. I just joined that the course. I never met that person. I just shown my interest, like I want to do the meditation. He just forwarded that link to me. We never met. We never spoke much about it. He just forwarded me, and this is how I came with the Buddha CEO Quantum Foundation. So everything was very planned, guided.
It was
So I
guided.
believe firmly
Don't say
into
it is planned, it is guided.
Yes.
So the
it was
universe,
guided.
your over self has been pushing you in the direction.
Exactly so.
Yeah. Yeah, let's proceed further.
Now, wouldn't it also be planned? Like, wouldn't it have been part of our soul plan to come together here? And then the guiding is done by the thing to see that we stick to the plan, right?
Sure, but see, there is a plan. That is why you need guidance, right? Because you are not aware of your plan.
Yeah, so the plan is there, done much before, and when we are not, when we are going a little away from the plan, then the guidance comes and moves us more closer to
No,
staying
it
on the
actually
path.
happens the other way around. That is
sir,
what
it could be
spirituality means. When you go away from your plan, you will get alarms on your body. It could be a skin
Exactly.
disease, it could be a warp,
Yes.
it could be anything.
Yes. So
Yeah, that's what I'm
it is
saying. So
like,
the guidance comes and moves you towards it, like they're talking about pain is
So
what.
it is like when student is ready, a teacher appears. Okay. So we were ready, we were being guided simply. Okay. So we were into that, the whole materialistic world. See, whatever is your age, whatever the experience you have got it. But now when you came, you were prepared as a student, okay, to go into this path. That's the reason. Every universe has been, guided, guided us to come to this. Simple.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
So, sir, this conversation is still continuing during the journey to the hospital, right, sir?
Yeah. I don't know whether they will even go to the hospital. Let's see. I don't know what happens. Yeah. Madhu, you want to take over? Archana is going for her breakfast.
Sure, sir. From where?
Yeah, as usual.
As usual? Okay. As usual, the dreams made him toss and turn. He missed his kids, yearned for them so much that he had no taste on his tongue, no color in his vision, no music and rhythm in his life. He missed them so much that even death would not negate the ache. The pain was no longer in his heart, but has seeped its way into his soul. Wow, beautiful paragraph. He realized this while visiting the US. He had the good fortune of frequenting the most talked about streets and avenues on earth, living the American dream, visiting cities that millions of folks all over the world would give an arm and a leg, more perhaps to frequent and absorb. He viewed the most fantastic sunsets and was surrounded by surreal natural beauty, something that always held his fascination. He had both the best of the material and the spiritual world, and it made no difference to him. He might as well have been in his van or in a rented flat or lying down, eye shut, fighting the demons at night. He respected American people, those born there as well as those who had made it their home, and their zest for life. But for him, being there made no difference. New York, California, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and their various glittering, vibrant cities and lovely natural surroundings touched neither his heart nor his soul. And he was certain that even heavens would leave him with a similar sense of numbness. What was that numbness? Hell? The type of hell that holy books keep talking on and on about. The raging fires of restless negativity, guilt, jealousy, anger, and the freezing depths of constant heartache, inertia, nightmares, and the persistence need to sleep forever. Sir, do you want to discuss or shall I continue, sir?
So you continue, because basically he's talking about hell is nothing but your Arshad.
Okay. How come nobody mentions this freaking side of hell? Why keep harping about having to die, to be thrown into those mythical raging fires and all the melodramatic stuff that goes to describing hell? What I presume is meant to scare us living mortals shitless. Why die when hell needed no visa or a dramatic shift of residence? Hell was here and now. Hell is nothing but a state of mind. He woke up as usual for a few seconds, took time to decipher his place of dwelling. He remembered incidents of the previous day and his eyes searched for the old man. Not seeing him on the makeshift
bed.
Not seeing him on the makeshift bed, Rudra got out of his sleeping bag and looked out of the van. He could see the farms and a few sheep grazing, but the old man was not in sight. Rudra was aware that the old man was close by, for he could smell the fragrance of the tobacco, which the old man smoked in his chillim, a local pipe, very popular amongst the hippie folks and sages in India. Never give anybody the power to hurt you, son. Never give anybody the power to affect your peace of mind. That is asking for hell, my boy. That power should be given only to your God and Master, never to any human being or any other living creature. Mankind was made too much in a hurry to be trusted with something as precious as one's peace of mind. Love everybody, but trust only God and your Master, nobody else.
So this is the, what you
Take
call,
away.
mother of all guidance.
Yes, sir. Rudra sat up, bowed to the rising sun, and
I
then
have a question here.
Yeah.
When he says love everybody, but trust only God and your master, nobody else. So that means, but God is in every being. Love
But-
everybody, but trust only God and your master, nobody else.
No. See, read it this way. Don't have any sort of an ill feeling towards anybody. Be
Okay.
compassionate.
Yeah.
That is love.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas
But
when
trust-
it comes to trusting anyone, right?
Only your own higher self.
Your master, your God, both of them are inside you.
So only your intuition.
Trust yourself,
Yeah.
not anybody else. If you trust somebody with your peace of mind, are you sure you will get your peace of mind or you will get peace? That is the question you ask.
Okay.
Yeah, continue.
Okay. Rudra sat up, bowed to the rising sun, and then got out of the van. He had slept on the floor of the van while the old man had slept on the makeshift bed. Seeing Rudra, the old man smiled. You are very troubled sleeper. You toss and turn and moan and groan, and it is strange that for a man who looks so serene and calm, you carry a very heavy cross. Not good. young man. Carrying a cross has done nobody any good. Even my brother was crucified so savagely, but then he was something else. I think he's talking about Jesus, right, sir?
Yes.
It was obvious that old man's, oh, okay, it's okay. It's the next slide. It was obvious the old man spoke of Jesus Christ. It was not what he spoke, but the way his eyes became tender and his face softer that gave Rudra goose flesh all over his body. It was as though the old man knew the Son of God personally and longed to meet up with him again, as though both of them knew each other only too well and each felt incomplete without the other. Sir, do you hear any disturbance? No, right?
No.
Okay. How are you feeling, Baba? Better than a mule, but not as good as a horse. Ha ha. Rudra smiled and entered the van to make tea. Once I have your ginger and mint tea, I will be better than a horse too. Rudra felt a tingle up his spine. A tingle go up his spine. He got out of the van and faced the old man. How did you know that I make ginger and mint tea? My son, just keep your eyes open. You will learn more about an individual that way than by reading his astrological chart. I saw your ginger and mint packet next to your tea and sugar bottle. It's just power of deduction, son. It is as obvious as the fact that you miss your kids. You have gone through hell. You are a good man who has messed up because you did not want to have certain decisions that you thought would hurt those near you, but then they have used that compassion of yours and finished you that their hate and their venom and their ridiculous allegations.
So, what does this part mean? You are a good man who has messed up because you did not want to take certain decisions that you thought would hurt those near you. But then they have used that compassion of yours and finished you. Are you seeing a reflection of Are you seeing a reflection of this?
Yes, sir.
Do you see a reflection of this sentence? The power that you should be given only to your God and not to your master. Why did he misuse his compassion? That is the point he is making here. So be very careful when you are dealing with someone. You should not let others decide anything for you. That is very important. Someone has left us.
But from what age, sir? Because
From
children
14.
need guidance.
Up to 14. Beyond 14, you are not supposed to interfere with them, right?
But they still might need guidance.
See, guidance, who doesn't need? Don't we need guidance of each other?
Yeah.
You're forgetting.
Okay, got it. So should I continue,
read it
sir?
in your eyes. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Yeah. I can read it in your eyes, see it in your face. You know, son, giving a person the benefit of doubt a few times is very noble. After that, it is being stupid. And still after that, it is being masochistic and asking for certified hell. Never give anybody the power to hurt you, son. Never give anybody the power to affect your peace of mind. That is asking for hell, my boy. The power should be given only to your God and Master, never to any human being or any other living creature. Mankind was made too much in a hurry to be trusted with something as precious as one's peace of mind. Love everybody, but trust only God and your master, nobody else. Don't doubt, but then don't get surprised too. There is only one being who can never let you down. That is your God and master. Sometimes I think God and master can hurt you the most, especially if you have placed all your faith in them and they betray your trust, shatter your fame. Faith, my son, is a very loaded word. We believe that true faith encompasses all of creation and beyond. True faith is far deeper and nobler and closer to God and Master than all the philosophies and the great books put together. In fact, put all that which is spiritual on one scale and put true faith on the other. And I still feel the other side will not weigh as much as the scale on which true faith reposes. But, son, there is a great difference in what I call true faith and what you refer to as faith. The old man lit his chillum again and took a few deep puffs. He then smiled and passed the chillum to Rudra. He took it and inhaled deep, felt the warm smoke travel into his body
To his
and
body.
felt the sweet taste of tobacco tingle his tongue. Get the tea, and then I will tell you the difference between the two types of faith. One is like a real diamond, the other, equally beautiful, is made of glass. Diamonds don't break, glass inevitably shatters.
Beautiful sentence.
Yeah, yes. Sir.
Hmm.
So, should I continue or shall someone wants to?
Diya ma'am, you want to take over?
Anytime. If somebody else wants to read also, they can read.
I can read.
Yeah, ma'am. Bala ma'am, you read.
Thank you.
While preparing tea, Rudra all of a sudden remembered his trips abroad, USA, Singapore, Sri Lanka, Dubai. For no real reason, he remembered spending hours at the Heathrow Terminal 3, remembered the day distinctly, sitting at the Starbucks coffee cafe, watching the world go by. People of various nationalities, colors, and races moved around him, all occupied with their own world. Each person moved about in his or her own world. How many worlds must there be? People carrying varied baggage, some seen, most unseen, the latter being carried for years and lifetimes in their heart, mind, soul. He remembered being served so tenderly by a man of color, little darker than him, by his smile and genuine warmth so much deeper than what Rudra would ever bring himself to nurture. Hours later, he had been with Via, who was more close to him than his brother. Days spent with him and his darling of a pet Spence. Via, who those days was going through the leanest of phases, emotionally and financially, but who refused to be beaten by destiny. He kept getting up and looking life in the eye, and more importantly, with a calm heart and broad smile. He understood what Rudra was going through. They had spent those days, two men thrashed by life and fate, bumming around, walking the streets of Manhattan. Late nights at the village, perched on wooden chairs outside cafe, having Bud Light or coffee. Taking the last train back home to New Jersey, and then sleeping when the nights reluctantly let the dawn make her present felt. Night reluctantly let the dawn make her presence felt. Two men who refused to get bitter or negative. Yes, they hurt. That was only natural, but they refused to let the smile or the glow vanish from their eyes and heart. They discussed their lives and their past and knew that they would not open their hearts or their wounds or nightmares to anybody else, only to those closest, and they did not have many close to them anyway. Of course, even Via was aware that Rudra was going down the hill. He too feared that Rudra might one day end his life all alone without leaving a message or a goodbye note. What was there to write about? Fate, destiny, karma, whatever had already torn most of the pages worth reading. No good deed ever goes unnoticed, and no wrong thought or action goes unseen and unaccounted. The balance sheet is in your very soul. All accounts are kept in one's own soul, updating automatically everything like a computer so advanced that mankind will take eternity and longer to even come remotely close to it. Nature is a phenomenal accountant, and the soul is the keeper of all the accounts. You don't have anybody else keeping a tab on your actions. Your very soul keeps all the accounts and then decides what is the best course to remedy or reward itself. Does a man have to do severe penance to get a hot cup of tea? Baba spoke, but with a broad smile. Lost in thoughts. That is dangerous, son. Thoughts are dangerous. Very. Come on out. Come on out. We will have tea under the tree and smoke and smile and live and die a little, live and die a little and talk about real faith. Come on out, son. You know there are various types of faith, son, just as there are various dimensions to heaven and hell. For instance, take those who go to heaven. Is there some place called heaven? Let me rephrase your question and throw it back at you. First of all, do you believe there is a power that has created, nurtured, and can destroy all of creation? In simple English, do you believe in God? Rudra nodded an affirmative. He could deny his very existence, but he knew there was God. Even though that God seemed to be on an overextended vacation in some remote part of the galaxy where reception was rather poor and communication took place only in spurts and was most often unintelligible and non-comprehensible. But he did firmly believe that there is a power who has gone through considerable pain and effort to create the universe, galaxies, planets, stars, dinosaurs, humans, ants, amoeba, art, even women and hundreds of thousands species and subspecies, whatever that meant. He believed in the old man. So you do believe in God. And if you do believe in God, then you must also believe that our God is not partial, unjust, demented, or senile. Good. You believe in a sane God. Thank God for that. That means you also believe in reincarnation. Just because I believe in a hazy way that there is a God somewhere around doesn't mean that I believe in all the metaphysical jazz dished out for the last few thousand years. But if you believe in God, then you must believe in reincarnation. Why, Baba? My dear goat, if there is God, then that God is just. If that God is just, then he will not act on a whim or a fancy or be partial. If he is just, then he will treat all in the same fair, unbiased manner. But if you don't believe in reincarnation, then you believe in an unjust God, or else there can be no logic or explanation that some children are born on the streets dying for food and water and fighting for survival, while some children have all the comforts and luxuries that can be thought of by their parents and the marketing world. If you don't believe in reincarnation, then why are some born blind, lame, dumb and deaf, retarded, crippled in more ways than possible, while some have such good health, then it is virtually nauseous? By the way, that does not mean I am implying that those who are born retarded or crippled are paying for their sins. Not in a million years. I will explain that later. I am not referring to any angry God here. In fact, most often, God leaves the entire planning to you. Anyway, we will discuss that too later. Now, back to the former subject of why do some go through life all alone, miserable, poor, bullied, tortured, abused, discarded, and some go through life as though it is nothing but an extension of heaven? Why, my confused lamb, do some moan and groan all night while some sleep the sleep of the angels? In short, my son, why is there such a disparity? So either you believe there is no God and thus no law, no justice, and thus all the imbalance makes perfect sense, or there is a God and he cannot be unjust. Then there is some sense in the madness, and in reincarnation becomes the only logical conclusion. Why? Okay, let's reason more. Give me more of that thing you insist on calling tea. Haha. Reincarnation is nature's way of settling all pending issues and allowing us to go through all experiences necessary to take us up the ladder of evolution. Without reincarnation, we would not have the opportunity to work out our destiny and work at our karma. Tell me, noble Rudra, one who tosses and turns and moans all night long and then makes tea that would make Satan proud. Why do some people have to go through very difficult experiences all through their lives, while some go through life as though walking in the park? Why are some born so rich that they have lost count of their wealth, while millions have to count every single paisa or cent or penny just to keep body and soul together? Some are born healthy, while some have ill health stalking them through their lives. Some are so very fortunate that though they have no talent or craft or intelligence, they still have all the luck and fame and wealth, while so many have all the talent and genius but have to go through life unappreciated and unrecognized and miserable, for they know they are far above the normal, but still they have to follow the path of mediocrity. Some are born lepers, while some have the physical beauty of the gods. Why? Not because God prefers some and abhors others. That is not in God's DNA. God has no favorites. God does not take sides. You have played lots of outdoor games. So I will give an example. In the context of games and playing, in football or basketball, there are set of rules. You play by those rules. If you don't play by those rules, you are fouled or even removed are banned from playing future games or penalized. Why? Because you did not follow certain rules of the game. And my boy, life is the biggest of all games and has the most intricate rules. You play by the rules, great. You don't. You play the consequences. Those
Don't pay the
consequences,
consequences. Yeah.
oh, sorry, you pay the consequences. Yeah, you play by the rules, great. You don't. If you don't, then you pay the consequences.
Yeah.
Those consequences might even be passed on to the next game. So often, a player is shown the red card and disqualified to play in the next game. Very recently, your Indian captain was debarred from playing a few one-day cricket matches as he was accused of wasting too much time setting the field and making the over rate way too slow. So he was banned from a few games, which means for his mistake in one game, he had to pay a penalty in the next few games too. It means his penalty was passed on. Just imagine the player saying he doesn't remember anything about the penalty. That is fine. Others are aware of the penalty, those who keep a tab on such things. The player might cry foul and say that all are impartial, but there are rules, and whether he remembers the penalty or not, there are the rule makers who remember all, and they can change the rules as that would be unfair to all the other players. It would also set a wrong precedent. Of course, reincarnation is not about penalties and punishments. That is a small part of the whole magnificent web of creation. Every time you do something right, you help tilt the balance in favor of truth. And that contribution affects the vibration within the cosmos. Each one of us sending out the right vibration can then help change the mindset of more and more people till the world throbs with positive vibrations and right actions. Each of us matters to providence and has a say in creation and evolution. So you want me to go ahead? Chadavana further? So he's just
he
he's
pays
comparing.
you which down, then we will get into it.
Okay. There are many who work so hard and use their time and intelligence and common sense in a manner that what others finish in 3 years or semesters, they finish off in 1 year or in 1 semester. So if it is a 5-year course, the intelligent and hard worker might finish it off in 3 years. All the hard work will reap a good harvest. The person who has put in real hard work, studied day and night, used intelligence, and has sacrificed pleasure and leisure, and thus finished a 5-year course in 3 years, will have a head start in life by 2 years. Now, imagine the other classmate screaming foul play and partially and accusing the management of unjust conduct and insisting that either they too get the same 2-year privilege or the genius be forced back into the university and made to stay on for 2 years. Would that be fair? No. You reap what you sow. You earn what you deserve. We believe that no effort goes unnoticed or in vain. No study or craft or art or acquired skill goes to waste. It is carried forward to other lifetimes. That is why some are intuitive in certain things. Some are born intelligent or are geniuses in certain fields like arts, science, technology, cooking, gardening, driving, speaking, or noble living. These souls have toiled and spent lifetimes working hard. Efforts never goes waste. Nature and providence only sees intention and effort. That is why we believe that one is never too young or too old to learn something. You will reap the benefits of that knowledge in this life or the next. Don't you think it is wrong to begrudge somebody or God for intelligence or genius? That person has earned it. Nature does not hand out free gifts to just a few. Either it is to all or nobody. It either gives to all or one has to earn it. That is why reincarnation becomes so important. No good deed ever goes unnoticed, and no wrong thought or action goes unseen and unaccounted. The balance sheet is in your very soul. All accounts are kept in one's own soul, updating automatically everything like a computer, so advanced that mankind will take eternity and longer to even come remotely close to it. Nature is a phenomenal accountant, and the soul is the keeper of the accounts. You don't have anybody else keeping a tab on your actions. Your very soul keeps all the accounts and then decides what is the best course to remedy or rewards itself. That is why reincarnation is so important. The soul hates to carry baggage. The soul decides to go through certain experiences to teach oneself all about the ancient plan. There is nobody waiting to toast you. You know what in eternal fire. Heaven and hell are decided by one's own soul. We will speak about this later now. All in good measure and time. Anyway, let us smoke a pipe and have some more of that ghastly tea you make with so much love. I like it. Ha.
We'll stop here. So what is the take from this entire section?
So he is comparing our life to a game. So that means there are rules we had to follow. And we make, God is not there to judge. Whatever we make.
Yes.
Yeah, or a referee. Whatever we make, whatever we sow, we reap. So, that knowledge everybody has to acquire. I think that's why.
That is inbuilt. You have to recognize it. It is already built because it is your soul who is playing the role of a,
And also he's saying the soul keeps whatever actions, in account. It is not someplace else. So.
No, it is in some place also. See,
one
is the other day.
Akashic records. Akashic
one
records.
is Akashic record, the other one is your pineal gland.
Oh, I see.
The pineal gland is the size of a rice grain.
Akashic records.
What is the other one is, you said?
Pineal
pineal.
gland.
Okay.
Pineal gland is a rice-sized grain. So
Yeah,
your DNA, actually you are a, what do you call, see your pineal gland, there are 12 seeds in your pineal gland. One of them is a record of all your soul's learnings. Yeah, this is something that Ray Chandran spoke about in one of the sessions I attended.
So is that how we are able to recognize people from other lifetimes and things like that?
Yes, you're right.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Even I heard, sir, we have a 12-strand DNA, but only 2 strands are active and all the other 10 are dormant. And
No, they are not dormant. They have been, because of lack of spirituality, etc., the 12th strand was cut down because, see, that is what is that, not Athens, what is that town which has been buried live?
Mayan?
Atlantis.
Atlantis.
Oh. Oh, that is the
Okay.
one. Okay. Yeah, in
Yes,
Ramtha
yes.
book, he talks about Atlantis.
Yes. See,
Even
they
in
were so
Sunshine-
very advanced that many millions of years ago.
Yes, sir. Even in Sunshine Before the Dawn, also this 12 strand
Yes.
DNA is talked about, and dark
Sunshine
forces,
before
why
the
they.
dawn, then your bringers of the dawn.
Huh.
There are so many books which talk about Ramtha.
Yeah, they didn't want mankind to be going ahead.
No,
So,
see, it
yeah.
was, it would have made it is like Abhimanyu.
Hmm.
If Abhimanyu was continued with the story that Krishna was telling, then he would have been unvanquishable. Right. So at that time, the same is the case, and that is why it was actually suppressed is one story. Now, how far that is true or not, we don't know. But
They say
your
negative
entire
force is
record-
suppressed.
Hmm.
I mean, there are so many reasons they give for that. There
Okay.
are so many reasons, not one. And for us, it is important just to understand that our pineal gland has got 12 seeds. One of the seed has got your replica of Akashic record. Right, which has got a record of every single journey that the soul has made, every single lifetime. Yeah. So now there is your soul that is keeping a record. The balance sheet is with the soul. It is part of the pineal gland. That is why your pineal gland, when it is matured and your third eye is open, you are able to see your past, you are able
Oh,
to see
yeah.
your future, and so on.
Yeah.
Right?
Other lives.
Oh, yes. So now what he is talking about here is that everything is in your control. And you plan your life also, he has referred to. Right? So you go through your life in line with the plan that you have created for yourself. You don't carry a baggage. If you are carrying a baggage, it means you have to take that many extra lives. Yeah. So now, Priya ma'am, you will take over. We still have 15 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The stream was Baba's idea.
Yeah. The stream was Baba's idea. He shut his eyes and informed Rudra that apart from making ghastly tea, which the old man loved, there in the distance was a wooded area where a stream flowed. It was a pleasant day, cloudy sky. A cool breeze caressed their faces and relaxed their bodies. Rudra remembered his childhood. It was a perfect day to play with his neighborhood friends. He thought of them and his heart cringed. So many dead and those living all scattered and battered by life. But today was really a perfect day to be outdoors. The banyan tree with innumerable birds perched on its hospitable branches felt like home. Rudra observed the tree. He felt bonded with it. Though they had shared barely a few hours together, not a word spoken between them, he felt strangely very close to it. There was a world revolving around the tree. Birds perched on its branches, squirrels running up and down, butterflies circled the vines, and ants moved in long lines along its thick branches, doing whatever they were involved with. What amazed Rudra was that he had entered this world by sheer accident. Thousands of vehicles passed the tree daily without giving it a glance. Forget giving it a second glance.
Even a glance was highly unlikely. But Rudra was certain that this tree too played an important role in creation, that this tree too had a say in global warming, the monsoon, nature's equilibrium, the fragrance in the air, in pollination, in supporting innumerable activities important to nature and to the small world of birds, squirrels, ants, butterflies, and all the other life that throbbed and revolved round and within the silent, humble, inconspicuous tree. Whenever a child calls out to me with love, real love, I am there with that child. If the child wants me to be with him or her forever, then the child needs to love me that way. All I need is love, selfless love. Be in the moment, my son. The same way, my son, each individual matters to Mother Nature and to God, said Baba, looking deep into Rudra's eyes. Every person is a world within himself or herself. Every soul makes a contribution and even has a small say in creation and the running of this universe and the innumerable galaxies that inhabit the universe. Just like this tree, we matter and contribute to the running of things on Mother Earth and also in the spirit world. Every time you do something right, you help tilt the balance in favor of truth, and that contribution affects the vibration within the cosmos. Each one of us sending out the right vibration can then help change the mindset of more and more people till the world throbs with positive vibrations and right actions. Each of us matters to providence and has a say in creation and evolution. And that way we have a say even in the spirit world. The vibrations you emit help even the spirit world. The spirit world we will talk about later. Now, let us go and wash ourselves in the cool spring and then eat something and then be on our way. You have a lot of work to do. Rudra was no longer surprised about how Baba knew his innermost thoughts, but wondered what work the old man had in store for him. Also, he wanted to ask him two questions. The first one was on faith, and the second one on why some people were born with so many crippling defects. He had been told that it was God's way of punishing people, but Rudra was certain that his God was not a barbarian.
So we'll stop here for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, reading this, is there any déjà vu?
For me, it made me to remember the nature of personal reality, saying you create your own reality.
Yeah, the first chapter.
Also, when we think positively, our positive vibrations goes into cosmos and makes an effect, larger effect.
Actually,
each
it is not just the positive vibrations. All our vibrations go to create the effect in nature.
Yeah, but
Positive
in case if
and
you
negative, both.
Yeah, but in case if all of us makes try to make all mostly positive vibrations, he says that we can change the cosmos.
I mean, is it not true that there are places where people go howl at a tree and then the tree dies?
What?
Then
What is that?
Japanese guy. No. See, there is a remote village somewhere in the African countries where if the people don't like a tree, they surround it and then keep on cursing it.
Wow.
So much
That,
so.
I think is Solomon Islands, sir. Solomon Islands.
I don't know which islands.
I think they talk about it even in that movie, that Amir Khan's movie. What is that? Where he's about that boy who.
Tare Zameen Par.
Yes. So even in that movie, he talks about it to tell the parent, how you can kill the child by just going on cursing.
And the same way, in our see, most of these are reactions to the negative. Even the corona is supposed to be because of the amount of damage we have done to Mother Earth. That is one theory that is floating around.
Yeah.
Because
That.
yesterday I was attending Pradeep Vijay's session, and sir said their nature always tries to balance that positive and negative energy.
Yes.
And take an example as Nepal. So just before that huge earthquake hit, the 9.5 magnitude or 10.5 magnitude earthquake that hit Nepal, just 3 months or 4 months before that, there was a ceremony there where they beheaded 100 cows as a part of some ceremony.
Oh, is that right? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
I also didn't know, he said on the session yesterday. So when you don't know about it, but you are focusing on the earthquake. So nature has its own way to balance the energies. It needs to balance, otherwise that's
Why,
the law.
if you take Hyderabad, right?
Yeah.
After KCR took over, for just rainfall, he did so many yajnas. Okay. There has always been surplus water after that. So there are all these things. And say, Tansen's music could cause rain, right?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what is he doing? He's actually creating that powerful a vibration. So our vibrations, yeah.
The interesting thing for me is that we also influence the spirit world, which is new to me.
No, see, the entire cosmos is nothing but vibrations, no, Ramali.
I didn't know that will influence the spirit world. This is new to me, sir.
See, the moment it is frequency, you tell me what you can influence and what you cannot. Right? Okay, let's proceed. No, I wanted that to be remembered, that nature of personal reality is reflecting in this book too. Yeah, let's move.
According to Baba, the stream was silently gushing in a small wooded area, a kilometer away from where the van was parked. At first, Rudra was apprehensive of taxing Baba with the walk, but 5 minutes later, he realized that the old man walked fast and without any sign of exertion. It certainly was a good day for a walk. The clouds had moved in and blocked the sun, thus allowing the cool breeze to make the walk less of an exertion and more of a stroll. They walked in silence. The field was barren, and Rudra realized that if only the powers to be concentrated on providing the right kind of infrastructure to the farmers, nobody would die of hunger in his country. Providing water through irrigation and making certain that water resources were channeled in a manner that the farmer did not have to depend only on 4 erratic months of monsoon was the only rational solution. Yes, it would cost an astronomical sum, but look at the obvious advantages. First of all, there would be employment for millions of people who would be needed to set up the national irrigation system. Once the farmer could till the land all year through, food would be available to all. Millions of farmers would be able to live a dignified life. They would no longer be forced to commit suicide just because the monsoon failed. They would be able to focus on educating their young and safeguarding their old. Also, employment would be needed through the year for agriculture. If the farmer could procure water all year through irrigation, then 70% of the country's population would be able to work all year through. Their purchasing power would increase, thus overall demand would increase, which in turn would complement industrial growth. Export of food grain would go through the roof. Migration to cities would reduce. All this would become a reality if only agricultural activity were made possible throughout the year. Borrow money from world banks, get the big time multinationals to contribute, make certain the top 1,000 corporate houses chip in. Spend less on bureaucratic nonsense, for God's sake. If a country is primarily cultural, then it should focus on agriculture. Agriculture needs water all year through. They entered the wooded area. It was a small forest, but not dense and not vast. 1/4 of a mile in length and breadth at the most. The moment they entered it, the temperature further dropped and the light dimmed. It also took a while for Rudra to adjust to the different aromas that assailed him. It reminded him of Swami Rama's Himalayan Institute in Pennsylvania in the US. According to Rudra, it was for sure one of the most scenic places in the world. Forests, lake streams, deer roaming around, spiritual seekers going about their work. The entire ashram surrounded by mountains, and as far as the eye could see, the sprawling sky. And in spite of all the natural beauty, Rudra had nearly killed himself in that very beautiful forest, with a lake, streams, and deer roaming. Recalling those moments even now made Rudra's blood freeze. It was as though something within him, much more powerful, nudged and pushed him and tried its level best to drown him in depression, where suicide and only suicide was the way out. And for some reason, Rudra didn't want to kill himself. Not because he didn't want to die, because he did not want to die the death of a coward. And he remembered kneeling down in that forest and crying to Baba for help. And then after a while, he felt warmth and hope and energy fill him up, as though nature, in her mercy, opened her arms wide and embraced him and consoled him and eventually healed him. At least healed him enough to be able to continue living. That day, Rudra had glimpsed into the mind of millions of those who live on the periphery of sanity. The stream of life flows through all of us. One needs to connect with it and enter it. It is sometimes lost in the woods of thoughts, confusion, greed, and day-to-day life. It is there in all. Some lead their entire life never once appreciating its beauty or being cleansed by its cool waters. But those who find it within are refreshed and strengthened by it at all times, whenever they so desire. One needs to slow down, hear the flow within, and merge with it. You people call it meditation. I call it going inward. I continue?
Yeah, we'll finish with this page.
Yeah. I was with you then. I heard your cry. I held you in my arms. Whenever a child calls out to me with love, real love, I am there with that child. If the child wants me to be with him or her forever, then the child needs to love me that way. All I need is love, selfless love. Be in the moment, my son. Enjoy this forest and these surroundings and these moments so that the soul can then bathe in these memories. Rudra nodded. He knew what the old man said was the only way to go about life. Being in the moment was being in the present, and that was virtually being in tune with the Creator, who was presence and present personified. Being in the moment made certain that you were not tormented by the past or burdened by the future. It was the way to sanity and health, and most of all, peace. They could hear the stream flowing. With each step, the sound only beckoned more. After a while, the gushing of water had its own melody. Rudra breathed in deep. Baba walked ahead, his lips moving, and Rudra was certain the old man chanted the name of God. All the while, the old man was silent. His fingers would move about. His lips would chant something that Rudra couldn't understand. Obviously, Baba spoke something in a different language. The sound of the birds, sometimes soft and sometimes screeching, mingled with the melody of the stream and merged with the gentle breeze, contrasted with the sound of dry leaves that crackled under their feet. Baba wore thin wooden sandals, while Rudra had his slip-on shoes.
So we'll stop here. So we'll stop here, right?
The next portion is also about the stream only.
Yeah. Okay, we'll complete this. Zyada nahi hai.
Okay.
They saw the stream.
They saw the stream and both of them smiled like two children. Rudra realized that it had been ages since he felt a thrill over anything. Now the strange old man in this quaint forest and the small stream in some remote part of the country gave him some surge of life, which he had thought had dried up within him. They sat on the rocks near the stream and for a long time marveled at the beauty of nature. He could see the sky in patches through the thousands of leaves that shaded them. He could hear the birds, sense the squirrels run about, feel the breeze on his face, breathe in the fragrance of the leaves and flowers, and the wet earth that the stream flowed through. After a while, both of them barefooted, taking care that their clothes did not get wet, entered the shallow stream. The water was cool and not even a few inches deep. The running water raced between their toes and caressed their feet, ankles, and shins. Rudra bent down, took some cool water in his hand, and washed his face, hair, and the nape of his neck. Both of them stood like this for a long time. Baba then turned his face towards Rudra and smiled. The stream of life flows through all of us. One needs to connect with it and enter it. It is sometimes lost in the woods of thought, confusion, greed, and day-to-day life. It is there in all. Some spend their entire life never once appreciating its beauty or being cleansed by its cool waters. But those who find it within are refreshed and strengthened by it at all times, whenever they so desire. One needs to slow down, hear the flow within, and merge with it. You people call it meditation. I call it going inward. Your stream of life is drying up like the stream. That is why it's just a few inches. As you spend more time going inward, the water rises and it washes you completely of all the tiredness and the muck and the pain and the slush of life. Saying this, Baba held Rudra's hand. Then he bent down, touched the water, shut his eyes, and whispered something to the water. Seconds later, Rudra felt the water rise. What is yours, nobody can take away from you. What is not, you can bend heaven and hell, you will never retain it for long. That is the law of the universe. God is just and God is merciful, and God has given each and every creation of His very breath. God loves all, but son, for sure, he isn't blind.
So we'll stop here. And interestingly, the laws that he was talking about, that we play the game by, is known as the laws of the universe and laws of nature. These are the two laws by which we have to lead our life. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of today's reading effort.
I'm feeling so good. I said I'll go later. I got all the part about nature, which is what I enjoyed reading.
So this is where we are. Any questions? If no questions, if it is gossip, then I will stop the recording.